clamp, clamp. Welcome to my channel. My name is Romario, and this is Build with Romario, where we bring positive energy to all projects. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. Hope you find this video of value to you. But let's get right into it. I'll be showing you guys how to make this straight cut table saw jig, or a joiner jig is what they call it. Let's get into the materials that will be needed for this. It will be listed in the description below. The board itself, it varies. You can use whatever type of material you choose, but I'll just tell you what I used, and this is practically scraps that I found around the garage. So let's get right into it. As you see here, the clamps, I got that from Amazon. You can get it from Home Depot as well, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But let's get into the other material, the hardware that you would need. So as mentioned, you'll need the clamps. I have these linked below. You would also need a board that's 24 inches long by 16 inches wide. This will be 24 inches long by 4 inches wide. And for the rest of the hardware, 2 wing nuts. You can get these from Home Depot, Amazon, wherever you prefer. They are 5 by 16 inch wing nuts. You will need 2 5/16 washers below, 5/16 by 2 inch bolts. You'll need 2 of them, and 2 5/16 washers as well. This is how the make is going to be. It's going to have indents. You're going to have 3/8 slot to fit the bolts to go in, and a little bit wider than 3/4 of an inch recessed trim in here. That's practically all that you'll need for this build. It's practically very inexpensive. The most expensive thing on this list is the clamps. All right, that's all you need. Oh, and also to note, if you're new to woodworking and you don't necessarily have all the tools that you might need for a project like this, or just in general, I do have a downloadable free tool list that you can download and use as a guide. They are Amazon links, but I would suggest searching on Facebook Marketplace to see if you can get some deals on name brand tools. That's used, but it's still gonna stay with you for a couple of years, okay? So don't shy away from used tools. It's definitely a good price margin and at a good price point, and it would still probably be in good conditions. Just inspect the tool when you go pick it up from whoever it is. Have them have a power source close by to plug it in to make sure that it is operational, so you're not duped when you go pick up a tool from strangers. But nonetheless, you could also use the links as well for convenience. But again, better prices on Facebook Marketplace. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so this entire build is going to be customized. It's going to be a freestyle, you could say. So the board I'll be using to make the base of the jig is going to be this MDF. It's 3/4 inch. Both sides, well, I've used this in the past to make other projects, so this is practically a scrap piece of wood for me. Both sides that I need are jagged. This is where I would need a joiner jig, but since I'm making the joiner jig with this, I have to find a creative way to make the sides straight. So with the same concept of the joiner jig, what I'll be doing is placing a piece of wood that has a straight edge on the bottom. I'll place this over it. It doesn't really matter how this is, okay? This has nothing to do with it. Once I have the surface, I'm good. I'll place it. This is cut from the same board. The length is the same. I want to say it's 24 inches. Yep, a little bit less than 24 inches. I'm gonna line it up to where this straight edge could hit the fence, no problem. Once this is lined up, doesn't necessarily have to be lined up. It's just gotta be in a place where it's secure. Since this is the same length for me, I'm lining it up just so I could know if anything shifts. Just extra precaution. All right, so now I have that good. What I'm gonna do is drill this board into the bottom board so it can stay in place once I push it through the table saw to cut that edge straight. Okay, so I got this. That's good. I'm gonna pre-drill some holes. Put my screw in. I'm going to use 3 screws. What I should do is probably clamp them together so it doesn't move while I'm putting my screws in. Again, I don't have the cool gadgets to make this quick, so it's going to cost me a little bit more time, but it's going to cost me less overall to make this thing. So I'll take that, no worries. Also shows you different ways to do things, and you can use the same concept for another project in case you get stuck somewhere and you have to freestyle a design. The place that I'm putting the screws, I would not need this portion. I'll be probably cutting it out later on the line. So I'm just putting the screws there for right now. Not necessarily going to mess with the integrity of the base. All right, so that's good. Got my screws in. Now to run it through the table saw. So I've already used my ruler, my framing square ruler, to make this line here. Well, I need a straight line, but honestly, it's just to show how much of a warp in this entire stretch, so I can know exactly where I need to start cutting from, okay? I did the same thing on the other side, just in case I need to use that side, but after I pass this through the table saw, I'll change direction and I'll also cut this other side to make a straight edge, but at this time, it's gonna be using the fence. should have a straight cut at this point. This is the bad part that got cut off. That's my line right here. Now that we have that, now I'm just gonna measure to see how much I need. We're gonna make this 16 inches wide. So I'm just gonna make that measurement and then I'll get the cut going afterwards. Just gonna take this out now. No longer need the base. Now be very careful when doing this part. You don't flip it like this. You just flip it this way with the bottom side stays the bottom side, okay? So the cuts will be made with the top facing the same way and the bottom facing the same way as well, okay? I'm just curious to see how this looks. It looks perfect! All right, sorry for the excitement. Not really sorry, but check this out. That side is now straight against the fence. Perfect against the fence. Beautiful. So now when I'm cut this side, it's gonna come out beautiful, very straight. What I'm gonna do is do my measurements to 16. Believe at this point, I can use my fence to bring it into 16 inches and make the cut. I had to extend this a little bit and then make the cut for 16 inches. Then we're gonna go in and make our slats to move the top piece front and back for, you know, the width of the board that you're cutting, that you're trying to join. Clean! Come on. That is beautiful. Okay. All right. On to the next step. Okay, so for the next step, I will be using a plunge router. Plunge router, and it's gonna be a 3/4 inch bit, straight bit that I'll be using. For those that do not have a plunge router, you can just repeat the same thing that you just saw for making straight edges. You'll just need to keep that base board with a straight edge line against the fence. Screw your board that you want to cut onto that one, run it through the table saw, unscrew it, rotate the board, have that straight edge that you just cut, hit the fence, run it through the table saw, and you'll have 2 straight edges. Save that board so you can use it again for the other boards that you're gonna cut. And that's practically a jig, and it works well. So you don't necessarily need to do anything else, okay? Just leave enough room to cut off that section that has the screw holes, okay? So just keep that in mind. But for those who do have a router, let's move on to the next step. All right, guys, so for this step, we're going to flip the board over to the back side, to the bottom side. This is going to be my bottom. Once this is all done, we'll flip it over. That will be the top, and that's what you'll be using at the table saw. So flip it to the bottom of the board. You're going to start making your marks for your slats for where the top board is going to be moving back and forth as the fence. I have 5 inches from the edge, 5 inches from the edge. Now for the width, you're gonna come down 2 inches and make a mark. 2 inches, make a mark. 2 inches, make a mark. Same thing for this one. That 2 inches is where you're gonna stop your router from going in. So this is where you're gonna have your slats or your slot made. And then you'll have a 2 inches on each side left. So once you finish your marks, you're gonna get your router. Each router is gonna be different. I have the Ryobi. What we're gonna do is measure from the edge to the center of your bit. My own is 2 by 5/16 of an inch. So that's a 2 1/4 inch plus 1/16, which is 5/16. Why you need that measurement is because, well, for me, I don't have a guide for my router, like a guide that I can insert into the router and do the cut. So I'll have to make a guide for myself. So in case that's you as well, I'm just giving you this step so you can follow along. I'm gonna measure from the line here backward, okay? And just so I can give you a visual. When you put your blade, you need to have the bit line up exactly on your line. So what you're doing that measurement for is to have a straight edge placed in the back. At that mark, you're gonna get your measurements. First, you're gonna make that measurement to 2 5/16 inch back. Make a line, clamp this wood along that line, and then once you place it on that board or against that quote unquote guide or fence or whatever you'd like to call it, then it should line up perfectly on your line. So now all you gotta do is keep moving it front and back in increments, going down until you get all the way to the bottom of your baseboard. I would advise, of course, to have a second piece of wood underneath the board that you're cutting so you don't cut your table or whatever you're cutting on. Okay, so just have something on the bottom as a security or a buffer so it don't go through your table and mess up your blade in case you have this type of table like me. Anyway, let's get our marks made for our guide, and then we'll get our guide clamped in. Okay, so it's locked and loaded. My clamps in, holding the board steady on this side, and then I'll have it secured to the fence that I'm going to be using for my router. I got these from Home Depot. I think it was very affordable. It's not the DeWalt kind, but it's good. Definitely gets the job done. It's good. So not just gets the job done. All right, continuing. I have this clamped over 2 5/16 of an inch back from the where I need to get cut. Just remember to pay attention to your marks at 2 inches for where you need to stop your router from drilling into. Let's just place this here. I didn't test it yet. I'm testing it with you guys. Let's see how it actually falls. Let's see if I did a good job. And I did. Not trying to toot my own horn. You can see the results. Okay, so just make sure that it's the same going straight down the line. Okay, so just test it, do an eye test, drag it throughout the entire thing to make sure that it stays where it needs to stay. Now we're gonna just get this slat created. Go down in increments of probably 1/4 of an inch. This is a 3/4 inch board. You could probably get away with a little bit more, but I will stay safe for you a bit and go 3/4 of an inch increments down each time. I'll need 3 passes to get through this board, which is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm gonna get this side done, and then I'll do the other side as well, the same way I did this. Set this up and get my other slat created. Let's do it. I'm gonna have my PPE going. Remember, be safe, protect yourself. I'm gonna have my goggles on as well. Alright guys, so I played myself by taking everything apart before actually moving into the next step. So don't play yourself. The next step is actually changing out the bits. And I think I said it was a 3/4 inch at the beginning of the video. The bit that I used to do this is actually 3/8. Don't know how I did not catch that. It's very small. So just be mindful of that. Now for the next step, while still on the bottom of the board and still clamped in, I actually went back and clamped everything back in just to save time for video. We're gonna use an actual 3/4 inch bit, and we're going to drill down, not all the way, but just the same depth of this hex head bolt, okay? Because again, this is the bottom of the jig. So this bolt will be faced, if it's actually like this, with it being the bottom, this is gonna be going through like this, and we need the head to go through as well. Right now, this 3/8 spacing is just enough for the threads to go through. The head was thick, so it will be protruding out of the board. So what we gotta do is make an indent, the thickness or the depth of this hex head, which is, I would just say go 1/4 of an inch down, okay? It's actually 3/16, but just go 1/4 just to be safe. So it'll be good to go. So I'm just gonna set the depth of this plunge bit to 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to go ahead and make my grooves. Do that for both sides, and we're golden. Alright guys, something else to keep in mind is that when you're putting the bolt, you will be placing a washer in there too. So whatever bit you use, I'm using 3/4 of an inch, make sure that whatever washer that you're using will fit inside. So this is a little, not an issue, but I'm gonna fix it probably like right there, 3/4 of an inch. If that, 1 1/16 of an inch, I need to open this space again. So I'm just gonna move the fence back a smidge. Just this much, this much. So this could fall in properly, but I'll probably do a 1 1/16 of an inch to give it some wiggle room so it can glide smoothly, okay? So this fits in perfectly, of course. This is probably 1/2 of an inch wide, so it definitely fits. So I'm just gonna widen this and do the other side as well, and then we'll move on to the next step, okay? So just be mindful of the washer. Make sure that it gets in there. It could sit flat. All right, gang, now that that's done, let me just show you. It fits inside the pockets beautifully, and it slides with no problem, no resistance. Okay, so now to show you how it will look, as mentioned, the bolts go in here, flipped up. It's great that we did the 1/4 of an inch because I didn't account for the width of the washer. So that 1/4 of an inch handles it. Apparently it does not take care of it. I gotta go back and drop this just a bit more because the washer does bump it out more than 1/4 of an inch. I believe I did it exactly at 1/4 of an inch. Ooh, okay. Just a note for you guys. Go 5 1/16 of an inch. I guess that's the theme of this project. Everything is 5 1/16 of an inch. inch. Let me just test something out. Oh, hey, you're still watching. Thank you so much for still being here. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you find this of any use to you so far or enjoying this video one bit, can you please leave a like on the video? It definitely does help my channel a lot. And hopefully by the end of this video, if this brought any value to you, I hope you can subscribe to my channel for more. All right, let's move on to the next step. All right, slides with no problem. And then should slide with no problem as well. Slides across the board. Okay. So ultimately I have to go back in and make the indent a little bit deeper, but let's keep going for now. I have a temporary solution. The next step for this is getting the board that sits on these two bolts that slides back and forth. That's gonna be a 4-inch wide piece. So I went ahead and cut this to size, which is roughly 24 inches. So I cut that to size, made sure this is a straight edge. What I gotta do is cut this to 4 inches on the table saw. Right now it's 5 inches. I could get away with it, but I want this to be a little bit thinner. So 4 inch, and cut off 1 inch from there and it will be good to go. So I'm gonna go get that done and be right back. Okay, and just like that, I am back. This is another piece of scrap wood that I had, so don't mind all the burrs and you know how it looks. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna make the holes for these two bolts to fit in. Okay, so what it's gonna be is flipping this back, the back of the board. I'm gonna take this, place it on the top of the board in the front part, bring this all the way to the edge. Make sure that it replicates how when you flip it, the exact direction that you want everything to be. Make sure it's replicated like that right here, so it's practically the reverse of when it's facing up, if that makes sense. So this is my back. The top fence, the back of it or the bottom of it is facing up, same as how this is as well as the back side of it. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to make a mark at the furthest end of the slat. Furthest end right here. There's just one hole you're making. And now this is what I have. So I'm gonna drill a hole right here, right over here. And it's gotta be able to fit that bolt. So we're gonna go with the 1/4 of an inch bit that was used initially to make the hole or to make the flat on the baseboard. So now I just gotta get a drill bit because I don't need to go back and use my router. I can use a drill bit instead. So I'm gonna pre-drill with an 1/8 of an inch drill bit, and then I'll use a 1/4 of an inch drill bit. Just make sure that it fits. Oh, it's probably gonna be tight. The bit has a little bit of overhang that allows it to fit perfectly for the 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to use a 5/8, 5 and 16 of an inch bit, obviously. So let's get it. Pre-drill a hole. See how much space I need. Fits beautifully. All right, let's keep moving. Flip this back to how it was. Get your bolts in from the back. These are the 2-inch bolts, by the way, guys. Yeah, now you're gonna bring this over, drop it on top. Perfect. What we're gonna use to lock down this one is our wing bolts. 5 and 16 of an inch wing bolts. We're gonna use it, get it locked in. The last thing is to add some clamps for the board that you'll be placing there. And that's where we get creative. All right, guys, for the clamp, I was initially gonna get creative by making freestyle type clamp, but after I thought about it, it's gonna take me way longer to create this and it may not be effective as it should be to securely hold the board that we're cutting. And since it's a matter of safety, I'd rather not play around with it. So I went ahead and get the clamps that I know will secure the board. Okay, these are them. I initially was gonna get them from Home Depot, but they were not in stock, so I ordered it from Amazon. And honestly, from Amazon is more cost efficient because at Home Depot I was gonna get 2 of these for $10, whereas on Amazon I got 4 for $12. I need 3 in total. That's how much I will be using, but again, you have the extra one unless you're gonna use 4 yourself. So it comes like this when it comes in on Amazon. You have to assemble it yourself. It'll look like this. Okay, as mentioned, we're gonna use 3 of these, okay? Also, disclaimer, off camera, I went ahead and cleaned this board up because it was looking a little bit funky because of all the marks I had on it previously, so I just hit it with a little bit of some sanding. Anyway, appearance doesn't necessarily matter, but for the video, I did it for y'all. Okay, all right, sorry, let's keep going. I'm gonna place 3 so it can accommodate any length of boards, 1 on each side and 1 in the middle. It doesn't necessarily have to be precise, but if you are a stickler for uniformity, definitely go ahead ahead and make your measurements and make it all line up. So since this is a 24-inch board, let's go at 3, 12, 21. 3, 12, 21. That should do the trick. It looks better spaced out here for me. Let's do it just like that. And of course, this is based on your preference, so you don't necessarily have to follow what I'm doing. I'm just giving a little example of what I will be doing. So I've got that there. Make my marks of a center. This jig is so helpful. I've been needing this for a while now because I have a lot of boards that has funny uneven edges, and it gets to me when I'm making projects. What you're gonna do here is place it not necessarily all the way in case when you screwing it in, it bumps out, because in case you have a board all the way up, you need to have that small gap, be able to have it flush to this fence. That's if you're gonna do that. 9 times out of 10, it would not necessarily be flush to the fence, but I just want to give it a little space backward, just a small smidget. Now, screws. You know the board is 3/4 of an inch, depends on what you're using. This is roughly 3/4 of an inch that I'll be using. So you need a screw that will accommodate that, probably a 1/2 inch. Now for me to find a 1/2 inch screw, which I should have picked up, but luckily for me, I'm like a small hardware shop. So I do have a good amount of things left over in the shop that I've used in previous projects. So a 1/2 inch screw will definitely do. I called it and I have it. Amen. All right, let me just bring this closer so you guys can see properly. If you have an inch screws, 1-inch screws, then you can use washers to build it up so it don't necessarily go all the way down on your board or puncture your board below. Okay, that's just some tips to get around certain things. I was gonna use some washers, but I found these screws, so thank you God. All right, so to test it, so I have a dummy board right here. What I would want to do is get this ugly part cut off, right? So I can get the straight cut. This part, I don't know if this is straight or not, so we're gonna act like it's not. We're gonna treat it like it's not straight. We're gonna put this overhang where we need to get cut off, put it over, and clamp, clamp. Let me lock this in, lock this in. All right, now we cooking with gas. This thing is tight. All right, it is worth it to get these clamps. Safety first, safety always. This definitely does secure the board. If you need to bring this down a little bit more, do that, make the adjustments. This is rubber on the bottom, so it's not gonna be any issues when you do clamp it down, and it won't necessarily mess up the board that you're gonna be using. Oh boy, I love to see a project come together beautifully. So now let's put this on the table saw and see how this comes out, okay? Let's get to it. All right, so we already preset everything, so we're just gonna bring this over. It slides good so far, so that's good. Let me get my PPE and then we'll get the cut going. Let's do it. Look at that cut. Doesn't actually look perfect, but let's see when we flip it. Actually, it does look perfect. Now, the next part, take it off the board. Oh, you see, there goes my problem. I probably didn't lock it in properly. So that's just a tip for you guys. Make sure this is locked in. Well, I didn't go back and double check it. Make sure that it's locked in properly before you start. Because if it shifts, then of course that defeats the purpose. So good, okay. It probably didn't shift. But again, as you see, my wing nuts wasn't locked in properly. So just be mindful of that. All right, now we gotta cut this other section to make sure that both sides are straight. Let's do it. What you think? What you thinking? No more jagged edges. We did it! And that's how you make a straight edge table saw jig or a jointer jig. If you guys enjoyed this process, hope you guys could leave a thumbs up in the video, and hope you guys could also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. I do have another jig fit video that I posted that's a vertical cut table saw jig. If you're interested in seeing it, it's definitely useful and beneficial. Same as this. I am happy to have made this because I definitely needed it. But nonetheless, if you have any questions for the process of making this, please leave a comment down below and I'll definitely get back to you. All materials included are in the description below. Again, thank you so much guys for watching. Hope to see you guys on the next one, and stay positive throughout the entire process of your project and everything will be all right. Okay, even if you mess up, you can find ways to fix it. All right, so see you guys on the next one, guys. Thank you for stopping by.